Am I wrong about Conor versus Logan? And you got to understand, there is nothing that makes sense about this. And that within itself doesn't disqualify it. Right? I made a piece, and these guys got a hold of me. Got a hold of me directly. And one of my larger arguments for how we know that it is not true that Conor and Logan are going to compete, one of the larger arguments that I had is that it was believed that this absurd amount of money being put up was to help to bring in tourism to the country of India, but it's not being done by the Indian government. It is being done by some rich billionaire. Now, that was my problem. I told you guys, I said, man, trust me when I tell you, whoever's signing the front of a $250 million check, whoever that is not going to operate as some Indian billionaire. They will have their name out. And when these folks got a hold of me, that was the first thing they let me know. No, you've got that part of the story wrong, Chael. This is not about India, and this damn sure isn't about tourism. This is about this family, and they put the name out. Difficult for me to pronounce. They put the name out, and they said it is about this family building and adding to its esteem and recognition internationally. Okay, great. Well, that changes my argument. I mean, my number one argument was that there was new $250 million to try to help tourism in India, where they're going to bring in two non-Indian guys. And India does very well within combat. They always have somebody in freestyle wrestling, and I do mean always, every Olympics. They got somebody. Sometimes they got a couple of somebodies. They always got somebody. And then they also got a couple of bodies in the Greco-Roman. Like, India is very, very legitimately tough. Their women wrestling, for example, I mean, just very, very tough. So the idea that you would have an unnamed family, and the idea that you would do it for tourism, in what some people have reported as the most populated country in the whole world, and no, contrary to what you might think, that is not known data. You don't know how many people are in your town. They don't know how many people live in your state. But it has been predicted for most of my lifetime that the most populated country is China. But that is actually debated by some numbers where they say that it's India. I'm just sharing for you. That's not the kind of place that would need tourism. So the story didn't add up, but when they got a hold of me, they're saying, hey, you got that wrong. There is a family and this is the money. Now, that would be a very silly fight to do. It would just be a silly fight. There's nobody that's trying to get that fight, right? Like, if you're going to do a boxing match, get some boxers. That's just what you would do. Like, if you had an endless budget, there's no promoter that if he had an endless budget for any sport, you're a promoter of basketball. Okay, great. I'm going to get these famous rappers and it's going to be awesome. And they're going to cross culture. No. You would go get the absolute best basketball players, and then you would go from there. Anybody would. If you don't have that ability to get the best guys, that's where you start getting silly. So you got Conor and you got Logan, but they're both under contract with TKO. Well, okay, you could get that done, as silly as it would be, but if you want to write a check, you can definitely get that done. And now it's sounding that that's exactly how they're doing it. That they're going through WME. From what they contacted to tell me is that Dana White is involved. As a matter of fact, Dana White has even made a statement about it. And the statement was, we got a fight going that's going to grab you guys. It's going to be an OSHI moment that you would have never seen coming. And I did see Dana make that comment. Are they stretching to say that it's about them? Maybe. But if they were smart enough to find me and do that, they will get credit from me for it. So the way that this story is being told directly from this organization, directly to me, is that they are doing everything right. They're not attempting to poach two fighters from other places. They're going to their managers. They're getting a carve out. They're working out a deal. And that wouldn't change any of my beliefs on how ridiculous that would be. There is nobody that breaks into a space. You'll have an MMA guy, and then you got another MMA guy, and you got another MMA guy, and they're all fighting. They're arguing that they got the absolute best guys. They got the special. Like it's this argument. But if you were ever to come into the space, you would grab your two best guys. And two best isn't quite the two most beautiful resumes, but you're going to get your most popular A corner, and you're going to put them against your most popular B corner, and that's how business is. And that's generally the two best guys or something thereabouts. Now, if you can't do that because those guys are all tied up somewhere else, you got to come in and do the next best thing. Maybe you do a Legends League. Maybe you get these older guys. They're well known and they've got a level of fame and they're not as sharp, and it's just the best that you can do. Give them a competitive number and get out there and move on with it, right? Like there's different things that you would do. The guy that comes in with the absolute largest paycheck is not up against any of those things. He's the one guy that can do anything that he wants. So if you're going to go to Conor and you're going to go to Logan and you're going to do everything right and you're going to go through WME and you're going to write a big enough check that you're going to go and get that fight, it's really weird. Like I'm just saying, in any other industry, if you're the one that's willing to do that and work with those people and write a big enough check, you would go after the best people of that industry. Conor could not be confused with a great boxer. Logan cannot be confused with a great boxer. Logan is a professional wrestler who sometimes goes out and boxes. And's got the balls to show up and do it. Like we can't question if Logan will get in there and actually fight hard. We know that he will. We've seen him do it with Dylan, but we also saw him do it with Floyd. And so I'm just sharing for you, it would still defy logic to go into that direction. If you had the biggest check, you would be the one to get Canelo and to get Bud Crawford. You'd be the one to do that. If you're doing it under boxing rules. So I do question that. I oftentimes will mistake wealth and intelligence. Oftentimes, I do get that one wrong. To come in with the biggest checkbook and to make a move so foolish that the only reason the media is covering it is because the move is so foolish. But you care about it enough that you contacted me. So I would correct the story. I'll correct the story for you. I appreciated the contact. You can count on me as somebody that will discuss the event. But before it's too late, why don't you fire the terrible consultants that you've got? And if you want to put on a boxing event, find yourself a couple of boxers.